All right, they're asking us to find the slope of the line that passes through each pair of points. Remembering that our slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So my first set of points, negative 13, negative 1 is my x1, y1. My second set of points, 7, negative 2, or 7, negative 9 is my x2, y2. So my slope equals negative 9 minus a negative 1 divided by 7 minus a negative 13. I have double negatives in both the numerator and denominator, which means I have pluses. So negative 9 plus 1 is negative 8. 7 plus 13 is 20. This can be reduced. 4 goes into both of these. So my slope equals negative 2/5, which means we'd put the negative and then the 2/5. We have to make sure anytime we are dealing with slope and we can reduce, we have to reduce. The second problem, negative 12, 3 is my x1, y1. Negative 12, negative 1 is my x2, y2. So my slope equals negative 1 minus 3 divided by negative 12 minus a negative 12. I have a double negative in the denominator. So negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. Negative 12 plus 12 is 0. I can't divide by 0, so my slope is undefined. Anytime you end up with 0 in that denominator, you have a slope that is undefined, which is telling you you have a vertical line. Because vertical lines are ones that have slopes that are undefined. All right, we're going on to our last set of notes in this, starting on page 21. But first, go to your table of contents where it says writing equations in slope-intercept form. Put today's date, which is the 27th. And then go to page 21. All right, so we've done a lot of work with linear equations. We've graphed them. We figured out slope. Today we're going to use some of that information and have to determine what a y-intercept is to be able to write our equation. So in this first set of examples, we're writing equations in slope-intercept form when they give us a point and the slope. So determine whether the point is the y-intercept. If not, substitute the given information into the slope-intercept form equation to find the y-intercept. Use the given slope and y-intercept you found in step 1 to write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to kind of paraphrase all that off to the side here. Given the slope, you need to use the slope and the given ordered pair in y equals mx plus b to solve for b. All right, so again, they're giving us a slope here. They're telling us our slope is 4/3, so that's our m. We already know that part of our equation. And they give us a point. The point represents x and y. So we're going to use those three pieces of information into our y equals mx plus b. So the y of our y coordinate is going to replace y in the formula. The x of our x coordinate is going to replace x. And the slope is going to replace our m. Since we know those three pieces of information, we can use that then to solve our equation for our y-intercept and then be able to write our equation in slope-intercept form. So 3 equals 4/3 times 2 over 1. Remember, if I have a whole number for x, I'm just putting it over 1 to multiply times my fraction plus b. When I multiply fractions, I multiply straight across, so I get 3 equals 8/3 plus b. So I have to subtract 8/3 from both sides. Now, this problem over here, 3 over 1 minus 8 over 3, I'm going to rewrite it up here so I have room. I can't subtract fractions unless I have a common denominator. So I can multiply the first fraction, the numerator and denominator, by 3. So this is really 9 over 3 minus 8 over 3. Now that I have a common denominator, I can subtract the numerators. So 9 minus 8 gives me 1/3. That means that the b value down here, that means that 1/3 equals b. So now I can take that information from the slope, take that y-intercept, so my equation is y equals 4/3 x plus 1/3. So as long as we know the slope and we know one point that is on that line, we can write the equation of that line. Might take us a little bit of work, but it can be done. Problem B, they give us the 0.25, so there's my x and my y, a slope of 1/4, so that's my m. So again, when I go to y equals mx plus b, I have 5 equals 1/4 times 2 over 1 plus b. So 5 equals 2 over 4 plus b. Now, I could reduce that fraction, but I don't need to yet because I'm still working with it. So I can just subtract 2/4 from both sides. So again, I'm going to work this out to the side. I have 5 over 1 minus 2 over 4. I need a common denominator for 1 and 4, which would be 4. So I'm going to multiply the first fraction by 4, both numerator and denominator, to get 20 over 4 minus 2 over 4. Now that I have a common denominator, I can subtract the numerators. 20 minus 2 is 18 over 4. That can be reduced. They are both divisible by 2. So this equals 9/2. So 9/2 equals b. And again, we're going to leave it an improper fraction as long as it is reduced to its lowest terms. We're not turning it into a mixed number. We're not turning it into a decimal. We're just going to leave it as an improper fraction. So y equals, now this is where I'm going to take that slope I was given, The y-intercept I just found, y equals 1/4 x plus 9/2. All right, problem C. We're given the point 3, -4. So again, I'm going to use 3 as my x, -4 as my y. And I'm given a slope of -3, which is going to represent my m. So y equals mx plus b. -4 equals -3 times 3 plus b. So -4 equals -9 plus b. Add 9 to both sides. And you get 5 equals b. So now I have my slope of -3, my y-intercept of 5. So y equals -3x plus 5. All right, problem D, they give me the point -3, 3. So there's my x, there's my y, and then they give me a slope of -7/3. So again, I'm going to use my slope-intercept form to solve for that y-intercept. So 3 equals -7/3 times -3/1 plus b. So 3 equals -7 times -3 is +21. 3 times 1 is 3. So 21/3 plus b. But 3 goes into 21 evenly. So this is really 3 equals 7 plus b. Then I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. So -4 equals b. So now I have my slope. I have my y-intercept. So y equals -7/3 x minus 4. So that's if they give us a point and the slope, then we just have to solve for the y-intercept. But now in the next set of problems, they're just going to give us 2 points and ask us to write the equation in slope-intercept form. So there's going to be an added step. We're going to have to use the 2 points to determine the slope, and then use one of the points to determine the y-intercept. And that's the steps they're giving you there. Use the given points to find the slope of the line containing the points. Then use the slope from step 1 in either of the given points to find the y-intercept of the line. Use the slope you found in step 1 and the y-intercept you found in step 2 to write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So this is adding one more step to what we just did, because now we have to determine the slope. So again, we're starting off with our x1, y1, and our x2, y2. Just like we just did in the warm-up, we have to determine what is the slope of the line. So again, m equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So I'm going to start by finding that slope. So here we have m equals -1 minus 0 divided by 3 minus a -1. I do have a double negative in the denominator, so that's going to go positive. -1 minus 0 is -1. 3 plus 1 is 4. So my slope is -1/4. So there is my m. I now know my slope. And then we can use one of the points. I'm going to use the first point. So now we're back to what we just had in the previous problem. We have a point of -1, 0, and we have a slope of -1/4. So now what we just did in the previous problem, where we had our x and our y and our m, we're going to go back to that y equals mx plus b. So in this case, 0 equals our slope of -1/4 times our x of -1/1 plus b. So 0 equals +1/4, because -1/4 times -1 would just give us a +1/4 plus b. And if I subtract 1/4 from both sides, I don't even have to rewrite this math problem, because 0 minus 1/4 is -1/4. And that's what my y-intercept equals. So there's my slope. There's my y-intercept. So y equals -1/4 x minus 1/4. Just so happens our slope and our y-intercept are the same in this case. So it's just one additional step from what we were doing above in the last set of problems. So again, on problem B, our 0.42 is our x1, y1, and the 0.3, -4 is our x2, y2. I am going to pause for a moment while you figure out the slope, and then I will be calling on someone to share their answer for what the slope of that line is. All right, so Cambria, what did we get for a slope here on problem B? So yes, the slope is 6. So if we substitute the numbers in, we get m equals -4 minus 2 divided by 3 minus 4. So that gives us -6 divided by -1, which is +6/1, or just 6. So again, now we have our slope, our m, and then we're going to use that ordered pair for 2, and we're going to substitute that in. So we have 2 equals our slope of 6 times our x of 4 plus b. I'm going to pause while you work that out and call on somebody to share their answer. All right, so Anthony Arroyo, what did you get for B? It wouldn't be +22, it would be -22, because we would get 2 equals 24 plus b. We have to subtract that 24 from both sides. So we have 2 minus 24, so -22 equals b. So again, now we have our slope, we have our y-intercept, so our equation would be y equals 6x minus 22. Once we have the information, which again, what we need is we need our slope and we need our y-intercept. All right, there's two more problems at the top of the next page. All right, problem C, 3, -4 is our x1, y1. 0, -1 is our x2, y2. Again, I'm going to pause while you figure out the slope of that line. And then I will call on someone to share their response. All right, so Ethan, what did we get for our slope here on problem C? -1. So you have -1 minus a -4 over 0 minus 3. You have that double negative on the top, so -1 plus 4 would be +3, but 0 minus 3 is -3 to give us -1, which again is our slope. Now we're going to use that ordered pair to find our y-intercept. I'm going to pause again for a moment while you substitute in 3, -4, and then the -1 we just found, and solve for B. All right, Naomi, what did you get for the y-intercept here? -1. So we end up with -4 equals our slope of -1 times our x of 3 plus b. So -4 equals -3 plus b. If I add 3 to both sides, I get -1 equals b. So I have a slope of -1, a y-intercept of -1. So y equals -1x minus 1. But we really wouldn't write that 1 in front of the x. We would just write it as y equals -x minus 1. That would be the equation of our line. All right, problem D. -3, -2 is my x1, y1. -4, 2 is my x2, y2. I'm going to pause for a moment while you figure out the slope. All right, so Caesar, what do we get for our slope here in problem D? -4. We have 2 minus a -2 divided by -4 minus a -3. So we have double negatives in both the numerator and denominator. So in the numerator, we end up with 2 plus 2, which is 4. The denominator, -4 plus 3 is -1, giving us a slope of -4. Now I'm going to pause again while you use that -4 and the point -3, -2 to determine what your y-intercept is. All right, Lila, what did we get for our y-intercept here? -14. So if we substitute in our point, we have -2 equals our slope of -4 times our x of -3 plus b. So -2 equals +12 plus b. We subtract 12 from both sides. -14 equals b. So now we have our slope of -4, our y-intercept of -14. So y equals -4x minus 14 would be the equation of the line that goes through those 2 points. Now, you are going to have some word problems in this section where they're just going to ask you to write the equation. We aren't going to have to solve them. We're just going to be writing equations. So this first one, Carlos is jogging at a constant speed. That is a very important statement because that tells us it's going to be linear because we know our slope is constant. It has a rise and a run with it. He starts a timer when he is 12 feet from his starting position. After 3 seconds, Carlos is 21 feet from his starting position. Write a linear equation to represent the distance d of Carlos from his starting position t seconds after starting the timer. Well, we know when he starts the timer, he's 12 feet. That's going to be our initial value. So the 12 feet here is going to be our initial value. And we talked about that. That's like our y-intercept or our b. But I need my rate. I know that in 3 seconds, he went, well, I don't know how far he went in 3 seconds. I know he started the timer at 12 feet, and at 3 seconds, he was at 21 feet. So what is 21 minus 12? 9. So in 3 seconds, he went 9 feet, which means my slope is my 9 divided by 3, or 3 feet per second. So D equals 3t plus 12, because he doesn't start the timer till he's 12 seconds, or excuse me, 12 feet from his starting position. So that would be the equation to go with that. The next one, Mr. Kimball sells computer software. He earns a base salary of $41,250. Again, base salary, that is my initial value. So again, that's going to represent my y-intercept, or my b. He makes $41,250 whether he sells any software or not. But he gets 8% commission on what he does sell. That's my rate. But I need to change my 8% into a decimal. How many times do I move the decimal point to go from percent to decimal? 2. So it starts here. I have to go to the left 2, so I'm going to have to fill in a 0. So 8% is equal to 0.08. That is my slope. So I've got my y-intercept, I have my slope. I just have to use the variables they give me. So P equals 0.08D plus 41,250. That would be the equation to calculate his salary. And in the last set here, we're writing equations from graphs. So we're going to use the graph to determine the slope and the y-intercept. So for the slope, they give me one point at -5.3, another point at 0, -7. So I'm going to find out how many do I have to go down and how many do I have to go over. So I go down 10 and to the right 5. So that means my slope is -10 divided by 5, which is -2. My y-intercept, I can see where it crosses the y-axis here. At -7, so b equals -7. So I have my slope, I have my y-intercept, so y equals -2x minus 7. And then actually on the next problem, they give me my slope. They tell me that m equals 3. I don't even have to solve for it. I look at the information, m equals 3. But what they don't give me is my y-intercept. Where do I cross the y-axis? I can see that point. What number would go with that y-intercept? Where am I crossing the y-axis? What number on the y-axis is that? -1. That's the ordered pair 0, -1, which means b equals -1. So my equation would be y equals 3x minus 1. So as long as I have a slope and a y-intercept, I can write an equation of a line.